everyone, welcome to Relief Tutorials. Today we'll be studying chapter number 8, part 2 of grade 10, that is how do organisms reproduce. Okay, in last lecture, if you remember, we talked about different modes of asexual reproduction that an organism will be going through. Okay, we talked about binary fission, multiple fission, regeneration, fragmentation, as well as vegetative propagation. So those are the ways of asexual reproduction through which an organism will be reproducing. Okay, today we will study second mode of reproduction, that is sexual reproduction. Okay, there are a number of organisms which will be carrying out sexual reproduction. As you all know, that in asexual reproduction we already studied that they require only one parent to reproduce. Okay, but in sexual reproduction there will be involvement of two parent. Okay, two parent will be involved in a sexual reproduction, that is male and a female. Clear? So today we'll be going through it in detail. Okay, let us start with our class. Fine. So as you all know that why sexual reproduction is needed. If an organism needs to survive, if an organism needs to improve, increase their population, their species, then they need to reproduce. Otherwise there will be a time when they will get extinct. There will be no species of a particular organism if they don't reproduce and if they don't increase their number. Clear? So that is the reason why reproduction is needed. Second thing is we discussed that the individuals will not be exactly same like that of their parents. Okay, there will be few variation. Why those variations? Because of various external characteristics that will be affecting an individual, and with years, after ages, there will be some or the other variation in an individual observed, right? And that is also needed because we need evolution, right? The things that are not needed or the things that are needed. Okay, according to that we need to change our structure. Okay, those variation can be physiological variation or any other kind of variation. Clear? So we'll be studying today sexual mode of reproduction in detail. Okay, now the creation of two new cells from one involves copying of DNA as well as the cellular apparatus. You know that one cell will be divided into two and two will be divided into four, right? And when this cell division occurs, at that time, along with DNA, the cellular apparatus, that is the cytoplasm, okay, and the other organelles, okay, that things will also divide. Nucleus, along with that, the cellular apparatus will divide and it will be equally distributed, right? Now every individual organisms cannot be protected by variations. We cannot protect each and every individual from variation. There will be some of the other individual which will be carrying out variation. There will be changes observed in the any of the population or any of the species or organisms. Okay, but in a population variations are useful, okay, for survival of the species. Okay, if you see that an organism or an individual or population is adapted to few things, okay, like if they are adapted to normal temperature, okay, if they can sustain normal temperature and slowly and gradually, because of few external characteristics, the temperature will keep on increasing. And you know, due to global warming these days there are a lot many climatic changes. Okay, now those species which can sustain in that environment, okay, which can sustain in higher temperature, then that quality will be passed to the upcoming offsprings. Okay, and they can live accordingly. Okay, so variations are needed, and the one which cannot adapt that environment will die. Okay, so if they get such variations, it will be quite beneficial and their species can sustain for a longer period of time. Clear? So that is the reason why variation is needed. And second is for evolution as well, variation is needed. Clear? Now, while DNA copying mechanism are not absolutely accurate, we know that there won't be exact same copy of DNA, but there will be similarity. Clear? They are precise enough to make the generation of variation a fairly slow process. Fine. Next is if DNA copying mechanism, okay, were to be less accurate, then there will be many DNA copies and they will not be able to work properly. Okay, and because of that reason and because of the cellular apparatus not having a proper function, there might be possibility that they die. Okay, an organism will not be able to sustain and they can die. Clear? So like to increase the process of variants, okay, how we can increase the process of making variants to be increase in their number, what we can do or how we can do. Clear? Now each new variation is made in DNA. Okay, you know that there will be difference in the sequence of DNA, and we can see some other characteristics in an individual. Okay, and those variations, it is not so that in like from parent to first generation only we will be able to observe the variation. No, it takes a very long duration, it takes a huge period of time, okay, to show such variations. It takes generation to generation to show such changes. Okay, now thus two different individuals in a population would have quite different patterns of accumulated variation. Okay, you know that in one single population there will be number of species of an individual. If you take example of apes, right? So we have different types of monkeys, different species of them, so each of them will be having different characteristics. Okay, so it's not so that all will be having same pattern of variations or same pattern of characteristics, right? It differs from different species, it differs from different individuals. You know, chimpanzees, then that monkeys, gorilla. Okay, so they are of different, they are belonging to one single population, but the species are different. Okay, since all these variations are living in individual, it is assured that they do not have any really bad effect. They won't be having bad effect, it will be quite useful to them in future purpose. Okay, now combining variations from two or more individuals would thus create a new combination of variants. When we did asexual reproduction at that time, I might have told you, okay, or like, you know, hybridization. Okay, usually hybridization occurs in flowers. Okay, we do to get high yield. Okay, or we do to get two different characteristics in one single plant, like one is having disease resistant quality and one is having high yield quality. Okay, one parent is a disease resistant and one is having high yield, so we will crossbreed them. Okay, and the offspring, the result which will get, the new individual which will be formed after crossing this both, will have both the characteristics. Okay, will have high yield also, will be disease resistant also, so it will be quite useful. So such variations are good. Okay, so the combination of variants will be formed. Clear? And it is not only in plants. Okay, it will be observed in animals as well. Clear? Okay, so each combinations would be novel since it would involve two different individuals. In sexual reproduction, you have to keep in mind that it will be possible only and only when two individuals will be involved, male and female. Clear? The sexual mode of reproduction incorporates such a process of combining DNA from two different individuals during reproduction. Okay, now you might have heard about chromosomes, right? We have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Okay, 23 will get from mother and 23 from father, right? So total we'll get half of chromosomes from our parents. Clear? But this creates a major difficulty if each generation is to be the combination of DNA copies from two pre-existing individuals. Then each new generation will end up having twice the amount of DNA that the previous generation had, but this is not happening. Okay, this is likely to mess up the control of cell apparatus by the DNA. Besides, if each generation doubles its DNA, okay, if each of the generation will be doubling their DNA, fairly soon there will be only DNA on the earth with no room of anything else. Okay, so how many ways we can think of solving these difficulties? There are a number of ways through which we can solve the difficulties of this doubling of DNA or chromosomes. Clear? We have seen earlier that an organism becomes more complex. Okay, the specialization of tissue increases. We know that we are multicellular organisms, or there are other multicellular organisms as well who are having great specialization of tissues, right? They'll be having tissues, organ system, and then an individual will be formed. Clear? So one solution is that many multicellular organisms have found for the problem mentioned above. Okay, the one which we discussed. That is to have a special lineages of cells in a specialized organs which have only half the number of chromosome and half the amount of DNA as compared to the non-reproductive body cells. They will just have half the number of chromosomes and half the number of DNA. Thus, when the germ cells from two individuals combine, okay, half of the chromosomes will get from mother, half will get from father, and combination of that will be our body. Clear? So individuals combine during sexual reproduction to form a new organism. Okay, it results in re-establishment of the number of chromosomes and DNA content in the new generation. This thing we will study in detail, but this is just an overview so that you get an idea. Clear? You know that we get few characteristics from our father, few from our mother. Will be combination of both of them. Clear? Okay, now if the zygote, now what is zygote? Combination of male and female gamete, okay, will be forming a zygote. You know that, right? Okay, and male gamete, that is sperm, female gamete is known as ovum, okay, or you can say egg. Now this egg and sperms are known as germ cell. So whenever I say germ cell, don't you get confused. It is just sperm and ovum or egg. Clear? Now this you can see in the diagram, this is sperm that we get from male, okay, it is a male gamete, and this is ovum, that is female gamete. Okay, they will fuse together and with the process of fertilization they will form a zygote. Clear? Now if the zygote is to grow and develop into an organism which has highly specialized tissues and organs, okay, we have highly specialized tissues and organs, and that zygote will develop anyhow. You know that it will develop in the female body, right? And it has sufficient stores of energy for doing this. Okay, a body needs energy to do that. Clear? In very simple organisms, it is seen that two germ cells are not very different from one another, or may even be similar. Okay, but as the body designs become more complex, the germ cells also specialize themselves. Okay, now you can see here in the diagram, okay, one large germ cell, this is large and it contains food, it stores food, while the other one is the smaller and it is likely to be motile. The sperm cell is motile, okay, it is small, but you can see ovum, it is very big, egg, it is very big. Clear? Conventionally, the motile germ cell is known as male gamete, the one which is supposed to travel in the female reproductive system and need to fertilize the ovum, the egg. Okay, so it needs to move. That is the reason why sperm is motile. It needs to transfer itself from male reproductive system to the female reproductive system. So it is motile so that it can move, it can transfer itself. Okay, and this ovum is supposed to store the food, because later on the fertilization, after fertilization, implantation and growth of embryo will become in the female reproductive system. Okay, we shall see in the next few section how the need to create these two different types of gametes give rise to a difference in male and the female reproductive organs, and in some cases differences in the body of male and female organisms. You can see here, okay, this is male and female gamete, this is female gamete, it has a nucleus, then a cytoplasm. Okay, it will contain the food. Okay, this is sperm, that is male gamete, it will have a head and tail. Okay, it with the help of this tail it can move from one place to another, and it will be ovulating our embryo, egg. Clear? Okay, next is, now we'll start with sexual mode of reproduction. That was just an introduction, okay, how reproduction takes place or what are the things through which reproduction will take place. Now we'll start with plant sexual reproduction and then we'll go to human beings. Clear? Now talking about plant, as you all know that the reproductive part of plant is flower. Okay, in males, in human beings if we talk, males have penis, okay, females have ovary, or you can say vagina. Clear? Same way in plants, the reproductive part is known as flower. Okay, when you dissect a flower, when you do dissection of a flower, you can see the reproductive parts in flower. Clear? Okay, so we are supposed to study four major parts of flower. One is calyx, second is corolla, third is androecium, and fourth is gynoecium. Okay, Now calyx, you can see whenever you pick a flower, okay, you might have seen a wall of green color sepals, okay, that will be present in the lower portion of the twig. Okay, if you are holding a flower like this, there will be a wall of green color small sepals. These are known as sepals. Okay, it is also known as calyx, or it is named as calyx. Okay, you can remember it as either sepal or you can remember it as calyx. Clear? Wall of it is known as calyx. Okay, there will be 4 to 5 sepals like this. When you hold a twig here, only one single is known as sepal. Okay, the wall of 4 to 5 sepal is known as calyx. Clear? Next to that we have coloring part. Okay, we will be having petals. In a flower we have petals, right? This is known as petal. This yellow color part is known as petal. Okay, that wall of petals also 5 to 6 whorls will be petals will be there. That entire wall is known as corolla. Clear? Third is androecium. Okay, andro means male, gynoecium means female. Gyno means female. You know the doctors for females are named as gynecologist, right? So it is related to female, right? Same way, androecium for male. Clear? Parts, we have 4 parts. This is calyx, then we have corolla. This is androecium, male reproductive part. Okay, and this is gynoecium. Clear? In male they have 2 major things. One is anther and second one is filament. A stalk like structure will be known as filament. You can see this. Okay, it is enlarged over here. This is anther. Okay, this anther will be having pollen grains in it. Okay, this anther will be having pollen grains in it, which will be helpful in reproduction. Clear? And this part is known as filament. Clear? So this is our male reproductive portion, and this female, okay, this middle one, green color, that is the female reproductive part. In that we have 3 bifurcations. The uppermost part here, this, it is known as stigma. This stalk like structure is known as style, and this bottom bulb, you can see at the bottom it is bulb like structure. Okay, so that is known as ovary, and inside the ovary there will be ovules. You can see dotted light green color structures. Those are known as ovules, which will be having egg. Clear? Okay, see they have enlarged over here. Clear? Uppermost portion will be stigma. They have not shown it, but here we can see this is stigma. Then we have stalk, and then at last we have ovary. Ovary will be having ovules, and in ovule there will be egg. Clear? This is general structure of flower, just to show you male and female reproductive part. Clear? Okay, and it's not so that only in few flowers, okay, there will be number of ovaries and there will be number of anthers. Okay, not only one part will be there, like this way. How we have whorls of sepals and petals, in the same manner. So you can see one male part they have shown here, anther and filament. One they have shown here, anther and filament. Same with back side also it will be there, here also it will be there. So there will be a wall of this anther and filament, so it is known as androecium. Same way in gynoecium, in few flowers there will be 2 to 3 female reproductive part in one single flower. Okay, so that is gynoecium. Okay, stigma, style and ovary will be female part, and anther and filament will be male part. Clear? Okay, moving towards next slide. Now we'll study those parts in details. Okay, I've given you general introduction for the same. Clear? The reproductive part of angiosperms are located in the flower. Okay, the reproductive part. So it is known as, like, flower is known as the reproductive part of a plant. Clear? Because it has male and female reproductive organs in it. Clear? There are 4 different parts of flower. One is sepal, that green color portion at the lowermost part of the flower. Okay, when we hold a twig, here you can see in the diagram, you can see this is our twig. Okay, here we have sepals, green color. Okay, then we have petals, this orange color coloring part. Okay, these are petals. You can see here wall of male reproductive part. I told you that it won't be like one single reproductive part. okay, or organ. Okay, they have number of anthers over here. Okay, anther, this is filament, right? Here in middle there will be an ovary. Okay, it will have three portion. Stigma. Okay, the uppermost portion is stigma, a tube like or long structure, that is style, and the lowermost bulb like structure, that is ovary. Clear? That is known as carpel. Okay, the female reproductive part altogether we can call it as carpel, carpel. And on the other hand, anther and filament for the male reproduction. Okay, that is known as stamen. Clear? Stamen and carpels are the reproductive part of flower which contains germ cells. Germ cells means sperm and ovum. Clear? Male gamete and female gamete. Clear? The if we talk in terms of human beings, then we say sperm and ovum. Okay, or you can say sperm and egg. Clear? The flower may be unisexual when it contains either stamens or carpels. Okay, now in flowers, at times you can see both the reproductive part in one single flower. Okay, so they are known as bisexual. Okay, because they'll be having both in one single. Here you can see both are present, female as well as male reproductive part in one single flower, so it is known as bisexual. Here examples are hibiscus and mustard. There will be few flowers will be unisexual when it contains either female reproductive part or either male. Only one part will be present in the flower. Okay, in the other species maybe, or in other flower there will be male reproductive part, and in some other it will be female. Anyhow, they can fuse by exchanging their pollens. Clear? Fine, moving towards the next slide. I hope you are getting these points clearly. Okay, stamen is the male reproductive part and it produces pollen grains that are yellowish in color. Many a times you might have observed when you touch any flower, okay, you can see some dust, like not dust but powder like form on your hand when you touch any flower. Okay, so those are nothing, that is pollen. Okay, on anther pollen will be present, inside it pollen will be present, and you can feel that some like powderish substance is observed on your finger. Clear? You must have seen this yellowish powder that often sticks on your hand if we touch the stamen of a flower. Stamen means the male reproductive part, that is anther and filament. If you touch anther by mistake, or if you touch anther, you will see those pollens on your hand. Clear? Carpel, it is the female reproductive part. It is present in the center of the flower. If this is flower, in middle, in center, this ovary and female reproductive part will be there, and these are known as anther. Okay, this will be ovary and this will be known as anther. Okay, which is made up of three parts, as I mentioned: stigma, style and ovary. Stigma, style and ovary, and they will be having two parts, anther and filament. Clear? Okay. The swollen bottom part, now here they have shown a dissection of that ovary. Okay, germination in detail we will study in further slides. Okay, just focus on the parts right now. Okay, the swollen bottom part, that is known as ovary. Okay, middle elongated part, so it will be like this. Okay, this bottom part is ovary, this elongated part, tube like part, will be known as style. Okay, and here on the top will be having stigma, which will be quite sticky. Okay, so that when pollens will be transferred, it will get attached to the uppermost part of a female reproductive part, and then it will start forming tube and all. Okay, the ovary contains ovules. Of course, in ovary, ovules will be there, which will be containing egg cells, or you can say female gamete. Clear? You can see this is our stigma, the uppermost portion. This stalk like, or you can say tube like structure is known as style, and this bottom part is known as ovary. Inside ovary we have ovules. Okay, and there will be egg cell present inside that. Clear? Now what happens in fertilization? You know, with help of pollination, okay, with the transfer of pollen from male part to the female part. Okay, and then that pollen will be having, as you all know that now if we study the structure of pollen, okay, pollen will having two male gametes, will have two male gametes and one tube nucleus. Okay, This is the pollen grain. Okay, just imagine your anther would be present. Okay, so long stalk like structure, filament, and then anther. Inside that anther, pollen will be there, pollen grains. Now with help of wind, or with help of insect, or with help of air, from this anther, this pollen will move to the stigma. As the stigma is sticky, the pollen will get attached over here. Okay, now slowly and gradually, what does this pollen have? As I told, two male gametes and one tube nucleus. Okay, so then slowly and gradually this pollen grain, okay, this pollen grain will start developing a tube like structure. You know that there will be a tube nucleus. Okay, so it will start forming tube like structure. Why? Because we need to fuse male gamete and female gamete. As you all know that in sexual reproduction there should be fusion of male and female germ cells, that is egg and sperm, or you can say female gamete and male gamete. Clear? So for fusion we need to transfer this male gamete which is present inside pollen to reach the egg cell, female gamete which is present inside ovule. Okay, so as soon as this tube will be formed, this you can see male germ cell round. Okay, that male germ cell will so slowly and gradually travel through this tube. Okay, and it will penetrate inside the ovule and it will fuse with the egg cell. You can see here female germ cell is present. Okay, so this male gamete will come inside and will fuse with the female germ cell. Clear? We'll study this process in detail in further slides. Clear? The male germ cells produced by the pollen grain fuses with the female gametes present in the ovule. This fusion of germ cells or fertilization gives us the zygote. As soon as the female germ cells, that is egg, and male germ cell, that both of them will unite, they will form a zygote. Okay, and that zygote is capable to grow as an individual in future. Clear? As a new plant. See here, this process of fertilization is shown how it takes place. Okay, now this pollen grain will come and will get stuck to this stigma. Okay, pollen grain, as I told, will be having two male gametes, okay, two sperm cells. Okay, and tube nucleus, it will form a pollen tube. Pollen tube needs to penetrate inside the female part. Why? Because inside ovule egg will be present. So to fertilize, they need to make sure that they travel inside the ovule and fuse with the egg cell. Okay, we will also study the structure of this ovule, or you can say structure of ovary. What will be present? As you know that in pollen grain we have two male gametes and one tube nucleus. In the same manner in ovule, okay, in ovule also something would be present, might be nucleus or egg cell or whatsoever, right? So that also will go through it in detail. Okay, so this much is clear. Stigma, style, and ovary. Pollen grain will come and it will settle over here. The tube nucleus will form a tube like structure, and those two male gametes will start traveling, and they need to make sure that they enter inside ovary so that they can fuse with the egg. Clear? Okay, moving towards the next picture. This is our ovary. Okay, this is our ovule. It has two polar nuclei. Remember this, two polar nuclei. It will also have two synergid cells. Okay, you can see your synergids both the side. So two synergids will be present and one egg cell. This is egg cell. Okay, and for fertilization, you know that sperm needs to meet egg, and then only they can form zygote. Okay, so with help of this tube, okay, you can see it is enlarged and it has entered in the ovule with the two male gametes, that is sperm cells. Okay, one will fuse with egg and second one will fuse with the polar nuclei. Okay, one sperm cells will fuse with egg and it will form zygote. You can see here zygote 2n. And the second one, you can see the second male gamete, it will fuse with the polar nuclei. Okay, it already had two polar nuclei, then the male gamete, second male gamete, will fuse with it. So it is known as double fertilization. Many times in exam it is asked what is double fertilization or why double fertilization in plant cells. So you should be knowing the reason, because two fertilizations are taking place. Okay, endosperm nucleus will be 3n, two polar nuclei and one sperm, that is a male gamete, so it is 3n. Clear? I hope you are clear with this. Two polar nuclei were already present in the ovary, okay, and one male gamete fused with egg, and the second male gamete fused with the polar nuclei. So the endosperm nucleus is 3n, okay, 3 nucleus, and the zygote will be having 2n, that is a male and a female gamete, fusion of both of them. Clear? Okay. See, entire process all together I mentioned here. Pollen grain will settle on, pollen grain will, this red color will settle on the stigma. This is stigma, female reproductive part, style, and the ovary. Big bottom structure is ovary. It has ovules. You can see here ovules. Okay, ovules will be having egg cell. Clear? The pollen grain adheres to the stigma. Okay, it adheres to the stigma, which contains two cells, a generative cell and a tube cell. Generative cells means male gametes. Okay, it will be having two male gametes and a tube cell. You can see this sperm cells. Okay, this male gametes have started traveling with the help of pollen tube. It will enter inside the ovule, or it will enter inside the ovary. Okay, and the pollen tube cell grows into style. The generative cell travels inside the pollen tube. It divides to form two sperms. The pollen tube penetrates an opening in the ovule called micropyle. The opening of the ovule means the place from where it is entering the ovule. Okay, this is the place where the pollen grain is entering. So that is known as micropyle. Okay, inside we already talked, they have two synergids. They have one egg cell, two polar nuclei. You can see inside two purple dots, polar nuclei. One more thing I forgot to tell you, they also have three antipodals. Clear? Now from this male gametes, one will fuse with egg and second one will fuse with the polar nuclei. So we have endosperm nuclei 3n, and here we have zygote with 2n. Clear? Okay, one of the sperm fertilizes the egg to form a diploid zygote, that is 2n. The other sperm fertilizes two polar nuclei to form a triploid endosperm, which will become a food source for the growing embryo. Okay, this will become the food source for the growing embryo. They need nutrition, fine. So to grow, they'll need nutrition, they'll need food. Okay, and that will be provided with the help of this endosperm. I hope you are clear with the concept of fertilization in plant. Okay, and why double fertilization? You can see that one male gamete is fusing with egg, and second one, this one is fusing with the polar nuclei. So at a time, fertilization, two fertilizations are taking place in ovary. So it is known as double fertilization. Endosperm will be 3n, that will be the food source for embryo, and zygote will be further developing into an new individual. Clear? Fine. Now, as I told, that this transfer of pollen grain from male reproductive part to the female part will be taking place with help of few agents, okay, like insect or air or wind. And that is the reason why that pollen will be transferred from anther to the stigma. This is our anther and this is our stigma. Okay, now there are two types of pollinations which generally takes place: self pollination and cross pollination. Okay, thus the pollen needs to be transferred from stamen to the stigma. If this transfer of pollen occurs in the same flower, it is referred to as self pollination. You can see here in one single part, in one single flower, we have male reproductive part, we also have a female reproductive part. So the pollen just needs to transfer from anther to the stigma. Okay, it just need to pass from anther to the stigma. Clear? So it is known as self pollination. Both the parts are present in the same plant and the transfer is occurring in the same flower. Clear? In cross pollination, okay, the transfer of anther from one flower to the stigma of another flower. Here anther will be transferred from one flower to another flower's stigma. Okay, it is not taking place in the same flower, it is taking place between two different flowers. Okay, so it is known as cross pollination. From here pollen will go with help of wind, insect or air, it will go and it will get stuck in the stigma. Clear? Here it will settle, it will start developing tube nucleus. Okay, tube, pollen tube, it will penetrate inside the ovary. Okay, then we already studied that one male gamete will fuse with the egg cell and second male gamete will fuse with the polar nuclei and will form endosperm 3n and diploid zygote. Clear? Okay, it's quite easy, you just need to remember the diagrams. Okay, then your concept will be very clear and you don't need to mug up the process. Okay, it occurs with help of few agents. Okay, like as I told, wind, water or animals. Okay? This transfer of pollen from one flower to another is possible with the help of few agents like wind, water or animals. After the pollen lands on the suitable stigma, it has to reach the female germ cells which are present in the ovary. Okay, it's not just that okay, anther will come and sit on stigma and done. Okay, no, it's not so. We need to fuse the male and female gamete, and you know that male gamete is present in pollen, female gamete is present in ovary. Okay, so it need to go there, it need to fuse itself. Clear? After the pollen lands on the suitable stigma, it has to reach the female germ cells which are present in the ovary. For this, a tube grows out of the pollen grain and travels through the style to reach the ovary. After fertilization, the zygote divides several times to form an embryo within the ovule. Okay, once the zygote is formed, once the male and female gamete has fused, okay, that zygote will continuously divide itself into many divisions and will form an embryo inside the ovule. Clear? You can see here they have shown the transfer of pollen from one flower to another plant with help of a bee. Okay, usually you know that bees, insects will be coming to suck the nectar, right, to get the nectar. So at that time what happens, this anther, okay, will shatter, or with the help of wind, water or anything, that pollen will be settled on the bee. When that bee will go to any other flower, the stigma you have, it is sticky, so by any of the reasons it will touch the insect or it will get the pollens settled on itself and the process of fertilization will start. Clear? Okay, so that's about reproduction in plants. Okay, you know that once the fertilization is done, okay, once the male and female parts are fused, once the zygote is formed, okay, then what will happen? Okay, now you know, we discussed that ovary, inside ovary ovules will be present, inside ovule egg cell will be present. Clear? So in future what will happen once the fertilization is done? What will happen? The ovule develops a tough coat and is gradually converted into the seed. The ovule which is present inside the ovary, okay, it will develop a tough coat around it, surround it, and then in future that will be converted into seed. Ovule will be converted into seed, and this ovary will be converted, or it will ripen and it will form a fruit. Ovary will form a fruit, ovule will form seeds inside it, and that seeds will be having embryo. You know that inside ovule we have egg cell. Clear? So inside the seed we will be having embryo. In future when it will get appropriate environment, suitable conditions, it will grow into a new individual. Clear? So that is what is happening. Okay, the ovule develops a tough coat which is gradually converted into seed. The ovary grows rapidly and ripens to form the fruit. Meanwhile, the petals and sepals, stem and style and stigma may shrivel and fall off. Other things of flower will fall off. It will become dry and it will fall off. The seeds contain the future plant. You all know that inside the seed embryo, we have embryo fusion has taken place. Okay, it has fused and it has formed a zygote. Okay, which will develop into seedling under appropriate condition, and that process is known as germination. Okay, the seed will be having radicle and plumule. Okay, this radicle will develop root, plumule will develop shoot, and entire plant will be formed. Clear? This is our cotyledon. Okay, so I hope you are clear with the concept of sexual reproduction in plants. Okay.
Flowers are blooming on the trees. It is indeed a beautiful sight. Flowers attract all of us. They are the most beautiful part of the plant, isn't it? You already know that flowers are not present only to add beauty to the plant. They are in fact the reproductive part of the plant. In the flower, stamen is the male reproductive part, while carpel is the female reproductive part. Some flowers contain both male and female reproductive parts. Such flowers are called bisexual flowers. For example, pea, China rose, etc. On the other hand, some flowers possess either the male or the female reproductive parts. Such flowers are called unisexual flowers. For example, corn, cucumber, etc. Now let us know about the different parts that make up a stamen and a carpel. A stamen is made of two main parts, anther and filament. The anther produces pollen grains. It is the pollen grain that contains the male gametes. A carpel, on the other hand, is made up of three parts. The terminal part is called the stigma. The middle elongated part is the style, and the swollen bottom part is the ovary. Inside the ovary, ovules are present. It is the ovule that has the female gamete called the egg cell. For sexual reproduction to take place, a male gamete is to be fused with the female gamete, thereby forming a zygote. Now for that, the male gametes have to reach the female gametes. For this, first a pollen grain carrying the male gametes is transferred from the stamen of a flower to the stigma of the same or the other flower. Such transfer of pollen grains is known as pollination. If the pollen grain of a flower lands on the stigma of the same flower, it is called self-pollination. But if the pollen grain of a flower lands on the stigma of another flower of the same or another plant of the same type, it is called cross-pollination. Pollination occurs with the help of different agents like wind, water, or animals. Once a pollen grain reaches the stigma of a suitable flower, a tube grows from the pollen grain. This tube travels through the style and reaches the ovary. The male gamete from the pollen travels in this tube and reaches to the female gamete present in the ovule of the ovary. After that, the male and the female gamete fuse together to form the zygote. This process of fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. The zygote formed after the fertilization then divides several times to form an embryo inside the ovule. The ovule develops a tough coat and changes to a seed. The ovary, on the other hand, ripens and forms a fruit around the seed. At this time, the other parts of the flower, like the sepals and petals, fall off. So, a seed present inside a fruit contains an embryo, which is actually a baby plant.
You enjoyed the class. Thank you all.